Hey everyone, it's your girl Monica Leigh, and welcome back to another episode of the Drive Thru Podcast. If you're new, we welcome you with open arms, and if you've been rocking with me since the beginning, you already know how we do here. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where you didn't feel like showing up? And more importantly, have you ever felt like you were in a moment of not only not wanting to show up, but you did anyway? And it's not because you even had it all together, not because you felt ready, but because you knew you couldn't afford to stop. Okay? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Still showing up. Because let's just be real, all right? Because if we just say it, showing up, it just sounds simple, but it's not. It's not. Not when you're tired, not when things aren't going your way, and not when you don't feel your best. And definitely not when life is just lifing. Because there are days when showing up feels so heavy. They feel so heavy, like you don't have the energy, you don't have the motivation, and maybe not even the clarity. But somehow you still show up anyway. And that does matter. It actually matters more than we ever care to share, to acknowledge, or even just to talk about, because it's a real feeling. And I think the majority of us have gone through this type of emotional roller coaster, if you will. It can be continuous, it can be in patches, but I think we can safely say that we all have experienced this at one point or another. But I think the real reason that it becomes kind of like a tug of war type of feeling is it's the pressure of perfection. And we're taught that showing up has to look perfect. That, if you're not fully ready, if you're not fully confident, if you're not fully put together, then, hey, you know what? Don't even bother showing up at all, right? I feel like we have all heard that voice in our ear at some point, right? And it's so easy to get discouraged, especially because it's basically encouraging you to, just don't even bother. If you're not really going to bring who you really are and bring everything, to the table and come 100 with it, just don't even bother, right? But that mindset, that mindset will get you every time. And not only that, it will keep you stuck. It will. And it's almost like it'll have you waiting for that perfect moment, like you're constantly waiting and waiting. You're like, you know what? I'll get back to, being my, normal self again. I'll get back to being able to handle things the way I normally would. But actually what ends up happening is we keep delaying ourselves. And that translates to having excuses until we actually realize that that perfect moment, that we speak of, it never actually comes. And I'll be honest, there have been moments where I didn't feel like showing up, where I questioned even if I was doing enough or if I was doing it the right way, right? We stress about these things, and it had me questioning myself, and it would be where I questioned, is this really, is this really the way that I've been handling things, all along? Is this the mindset that I really have had all along? Because mindset is key. It really is important. You've heard, the saying, what you focus on or what you think about, that's what you're going to continue to attract, right? So I've always tend to have a positive mindset, even, let me just pause, even when it's hard, because I know the other alternative, that's not going to make you feel any better, just staying negative. And I always remind myself, tough times, stressful times, negative times, all that fit in that category, they don't last forever. In fact, what they do is they actually reinforce strength. They actually reinforce redirection. And they also reinforce, guess what? Just continue to still show up. Continue to still show up even when it's hard. So moments where I personally have felt off or just not myself, and where, okay, Monica, you can go ahead and have your moment of feeling sorry for yourself, I still decided to show up anyway. And even if that meant not perfectly, because it definitely wasn't. But the reality and the most important thing is that even though it might not have been the way I wanted to show up, I was present. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Because sometimes just showing up imperfectly is the only option that we may have. So nobody's saying that it's easy. But as long as we keep doing it, and as long as we keep reminding ourselves that, listen, the way to keep moving forward is also a reminder that you just have to keep pushing forward, onward, and just keep moving. The bottom line is keep moving. It might look a little different at the moment, but eventually it will bring you right back to what we are familiar with and what we're comfortable with. So here's the truth. Showing up imperfectly is still showing up. Let me say that again. Showing up imperfectly is still showing up. More importantly, it still counts. It still moves you forward, because, let me be clear, consistency isn't built on perfect days. My gosh, if we were alluding to consistency being based off of perfect days, we'd be waiting a long time, okay? So consistency isn't built on perfect days, but it's built on the days where you didn't feel like it and you did it anyway. And I've said this in multiple episodes before. Just showing up and doing it anyway, even when you didn't feel like it mentally, physically, emotionally. That is where growth happens. And remember, when growth is happening, it's usually happening to us in a season where there is uncertainty, where it's uncomfortable, where the unknown is in front of us, and it makes you feel so scatterbrained. But we are learning. And if we're learning, we are growing. And I'm a firm believer, if growth was just, made for us to have it easy, I mean, would we really be trying to learn more? And not just with ourselves, but just in life. Would we really be pouring into ourselves a lot more than what we do when we are, faced with adversity or the unknown or the uncomfortable feeling of what's next, or maybe you don't know what's next. So being able to show up all the time, no matter if it's a good day or a bad day, it still counts. And it's still progress, okay? It's still progress. But what does redefining progress means, right? If we're going to just be talking about it, I mean, let's be real. Progress, it definitely doesn't always look like big wins. I think a lot of us always think that it needs to be big in order for us to progress, in order for us to see, improvements, whatever that means. But actually, sometimes it looks like just getting out of bed when it's hard, doing one small thing when you feel overwhelmed. I'm going to be honest with you. That one right there, that one sticks out to me a little bit more, because when we feel overwhelmed, when we've got everything stacked up against us, in front of us, all around us, you name it, right? It's just surrounding everything around you that you feel like almost like you're suffocating, you can't breathe. But being able to just do one small thing when you're having this emotional wave hit you, that's a big deal. And if nobody has said it to you, I'm saying it to you right now. It's a big deal. And then showing up when nobody notices. I love this one. Make sure that you jot this one down. Showing up when nobody notices. Because I think a lot of times, and I'll just use, for example, a career. We're doing so much, or people are asking so much of us. And it's like, even when we're doing the bare minimum, or what we're only expected to do, there are some of us that like to go above and beyond, not because we are being asked to do it, but because that's the type of person that we are. And it resonates with the type of person that, we have always been, and what defines us, based off of our integrity, our character, our persona, that we just like to do more because it makes us feel good. I mean, how many of you have done something in your life, whether it be for a friend, a coworker, a family member, a colleague, what have you? But how many of us have done something beyond what somebody has asked us? And it's just like, wow, like you weren't expecting it, right? Even if you've known the type of person that this person is, that you're speaking on, but it makes you feel good because it's like, it almost makes you feel like you need to take a step back to think like, man, everything that this person is dealing with or going through, or they are still showing up. And more importantly, not only for themselves, but for you. For you. And I think that is so important to be reminded of, is that when you think that you have so many things that are overwhelming you, what makes you think that somebody else around you is not dealing with the same thing too? But guess what? They are still showing up for you amongst everything that they're dealing with. So showing up when nobody notices, you are actually not only making yourself feel good, but you never know if you have made an impact on somebody else that you decided to show up for, and you weren't being asked to do it. You are just doing it because that is who you are. And that's a great thing. That's why I always say to people, Be mindful of how you speak to people. Be mindful of how you listen to them, because listening and speaking, they equivalent to the same thing. You have to be present for both. You should be present for both, right? And sometimes people just, in terms of just showing up, guess what? They might just need you to listen, not always talk. And when you're mindful and you're careful with the things and the feelings that they're sharing with you, that speaks volumes. It really does. And that's progress, even if it doesn't feel like that. So again, just always be a little bit more mindful of people around you, because we truly don't know what people are dealing with or going through on a day-to-day basis. And this also brings me to encouragement and also validation. So if you've been hard on yourself lately, and if you really think about everything that you've been carrying, in everything that you've been navigating, in everything that you've just been pushing through, that's a lot. That's a lot, right? So think of this again. The carrying of things, the navigating your way through things, and the pushing through things. The fact that you're still here, that you're still trying, you're still showing up. You're still showing up. That's not small at all. That's strength. That is strength. And I'm going to remind you that too. And you don't need to have it all figured out. We try, I know, as human beings, man, we always feel like we need to have an answer. We need to have it figured out immediately. Like if we don't, oh my God, like the world's going to fall apart. I mean, like we need to all just stop that. And we all need to take a step back. If it may be a few, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. And you don't need to wait until everything feels right. Again, you don't need to have it all figured out in your life, and it doesn't need to be perfect. And you don't need to wait until everything feels right, because we may be waiting a little too long for that moment. All you have to do, you just need to keep showing up. You just need to keep showing up. And as you are, no one else. Don't try to impersonate who you truly are. Just show up where you are, as you are, because that is enough. It's enough. Whew. I didn't think it was going to be a heavy episode today, but here we are. But it is, it matters. It matters to share this. It does. And I want to say, before we close, I want to say thank you. I want to genuinely say thank you, because you have been pulling up with me this season, and you had choices, you had options, but you decided to pull up with me this season to listen and to grow through all of these conversations with me. So I say this to you because this is the end of season 1. This is the end of season 1. Can you believe it? But it's not the end. It's just a pause, is the way that I would like to kind of frame it. Okay? It's the end of season 1, but it's not the end. It is literally just a pause. And trust me, we are building on this. I will share, we are going to be moving a little different in season 2, but we'll be back soon. So don't you go off, too far. You can drive off a little bit, but I'm letting you know we will be back soon. So I want you to stay close. I also want to make sure that you're tapped in on TikTok and Instagram for updates if you aren't already. Most importantly, I'm going to say it, don't forget to pull up, and I will catch each and every one of you next season, season 2, right here on the Drive Thru Podcast. And remember, until next time, you take care of you. Bye.